It's no secret that starting a business is hard. Even if you have an amazing idea, bringing it to life can feel overwhelming. With HubSpot's new entrepreneurship kit, though, you can go from idea to IPO with the help of a company that knows a thing or two about growing better. The all-inclusive kit gives you step-by-step guidance and frameworks to help you crush every stage of starting a business, with tools tailored to help all along the entrepreneurial journey. It's packed with templates for project management, email, and skill development. Wow, that's a lot of templates. There's also a solopreneur guide. It's got freelance pricing worksheets and lots more you can get up and running immediately. And best of all, it's free. With expert guidance and frameworks from HubSpot, starting a business doesn't have to be so hard. So don't wait to start yours. Go to HubSpot.com/ENT to download the guide right now. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, September 3rd. I'm Jon Weigell here with Caya, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. We all know that U.S. packaged foods are different from those in the EU and around the world, but maybe we're not sure exactly why. Ingredients with 7+ syllables often grace the back of food labels, and many of them sound like utter gibberish to me and many. So why in the US does the FDA allow some of these ingredients into our food, and can some cause major health issues? We'll answer those questions with the help of Caya today, who produced a video highlighting the differences in American ingredients for the Hustle YouTube channel. But before that, let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. Starting off, the TSA projected over 17 million passengers flooded American airports over Labor Day weekend, a strong capper to a summer responsible for the 10 busiest days in the agency's history. Next, Disney-owned channels, including ABC and ESPN, were yanked from DirecTV on Sunday after distribution deal negotiations broke down. DirecTV's about 11 million subscribers lost access to the US Open coverage halfway through the tournament, which really sucks. Over to some music news. Adele is peacing out for a little bit. The singer said we won't see her for an incredibly long time after the end of her Las Vegas residency, the richest deal in Vegas history, which netted her $105 million for just 60 shows. Over to hotels. Over 10,000 Hilton, Hyatt, and Marriott hotel workers went on strike Sunday morning across the U.S. after contract negotiations from the Unite Here union stalled. And finally, Paramount is set to sell VidCon, its annual creators conference, to UK media firm Informa, which owns cons including Toronto Comic-Con. So today, we're chatting a bit about FDA regulations here in the US and how the same snacks and foods can have different ingredients depending on the country that you're in. To talk on that, let's welcome back Caya. Welcome, Caya. Pleasure to have you back on again.
Thanks for having me, John.
Thanks for being here. So as with every video that you produce, I feel like you go down quite a bit of a rabbit hole. Tell me a bit about what got you onto this ingredient kick.
Yeah, that's interesting. We shouldn't reveal too many secrets of how we write videos in the Hustle, but
of course.
It does require a bit of a rabbit hole digging, right? Like we really want to find like those weird, unexpected, unknown answers to these questions. Like my spark for this was Mexican Coke. Mm-hmm. I'm Costa Rican, so I am used to what you guys call Mexican Coke, which is just Coke with sugarcane rather than corn syrup.
Right.
And that's just the regular Coke that I grew up drinking. I've switched now to Coke Zero because you can't live like that when you're 30s on regular Coke.
I feel that.
But yeah, that was kind of like the spark. Like, do they taste differently? How did Mexican Coke become so popular in the States? And then a rabbit hole came out of that, which was, well, it's not only Coke that has different ingredients in the US. It's a lot of different products. And you would think that the obvious answer was that we're just getting worse ingredients in the US and lax regulations and so on. Sure. But that is not the answer. It's a bunch of different variables that change with product to product. So that's kind of what the video touches on.
Yeah, it seems like there's a bunch of different reasons, and it's not just because, American food puts literally anything past the FDA. We'll talk about more about the FDA's position on this shortly, but you got to taste some different varieties of the same snacks from different countries, right? You had the Doritos from America, you had the Doritos from Latin America, and then you had Cadbury chocolate from America versus the very precious English Cadbury chocolate. Maybe we could start with the Doritos. Can you describe to me just any of the taste differences that you picked up between the two, the Latin American and the American?
Yeah, so you never have one next to the other. That's the thing.
Exactly.
So it's very hard to compare. I'd say Doritos are very, very close one to another. I'd say that the American Doritos are slightly punchier. Then the other thing is you can easily Google an ingredients label for American Doritos, but you can't really Google an ingredients label for foreign Doritos. Nobody goes to the trouble of putting those on a website. So you have to like go to the supermarket and get a bag. That's the only way to know. But then the main difference between American Doritos and Latin American Doritos is just one of the spices that they use to replace salt. So American Doritos end up tasting just a little bit punchier. Maybe it's just a placebo effect. If you're not trying to find it, you're not going to notice. Right. European Doritos, they do have more strict regulations in Europe. So the difference is they don't have red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, which are some of the colorings. Those are forbidden in Europe, so they have to use something else.
You've noted also in the Cadbury chocolate, the United States one is not made with palm oil, if I'm correct. And the European one or the English one is made with palm oil. So there are kind of some slight differences there as well, it sounded like.
Again, as we were going through this rabbit hole, we're like, okay, like what if we go beyond Coke, right? What if we talk about other ingredients? Like the next most known ingredient changes in Cadbury. British people hate American Cadbury. You have all these videos online saying that it tastes like puke. They really do hate it. So Hershey's now has the license to manufacture and distribute Cadbury in the US. The US used to have original UK Cadburys. And people that knew about this and knew that they were going to change it, they just went to the stores and like emptied the stores basically. Because Hershey's manufactures it now. And the taste difference is there. Like you can know, like even in the texture of the chocolate, the UK Cadbury is much creamier, much tastier. Like when you imagine milk chocolate, like that chocolate that sort of melts in your mouth, that's the UK Cadbury version. And when you taste the American version next to that, it's drier, it's less tasty, even dare I say somewhat bitter. And it wasn't an easy answer, this one. But then what I found was that there's this obscure rule that if you want to call chocolate milk chocolate in the US, the only vegetable oil it may have needs to come from cocoa beans. So it can't have other vegetable oils because otherwise it'd be chocolate, but not milk chocolate. So the only fats that it can have are from milk and from the cocoa, but no other fats. Wow. That's just an FDA standard rule. And if Hershey's wanted to call Cadbury milk chocolate, as they should, they had to get rid of the palm oil. And that's what changed the taste profile.
Let's talk about the Food and Drug Administration, because there was something that you kind of stumbled upon here, which like, honestly, bless you for looking at the back of these packages and looking at these different ingredients and trying to pronounce them on camera, because like, I'm going to say one right now and I'm going to absolutely butcher it. It's the azodibarbumhide, that one. But, there are a lot of ingredients like that on these packages. And specifically, if you know what I just said at all, can you talk to me about what that ingredient is and what does the FDA say about that particular ingredient on the back of packaging?
The thing with these ingredients is that many of them are banned in other parts of the world. You can't have them in Europe. California, as a state, kind of like, adding more strict rules than the FDA does at the federal level, passed some regulation to block some of these ingredients. Like, why are they blocked? Well, it so happens that azodicarbonamide, which they started calling the yoga mat chemical, and now we're going to call it that so that we have to avoid pronouncing it again.
Perfect.
It's like this potential cancer-inducing chemical, same as BHT and BHA, which are like used for freshness in cereals and stuff like that. The yoga mat chemical is used to bleach flour for bread. So most bread in the US will use it because the flour has it. And yeah, like they're banned in Europe. You can't have them anymore. So why is the FDA allowing them? So what we found with that is that there's this system that the FDA created called GRAS, which is generally recognized as safe. It's a legislation that they passed many years ago. I think it was late 50s, where they said, well, these ingredients that we have here, we've tested them. We know that they're safe. You can put them on food. You don't need to get another permit. You don't need to run your product through our approval process because these ingredients are fine. So if you use these ingredients, if you stick to this list, you're fine. Just put them on whatever you want. And in the 50s, we didn't know that tobacco was poisonous, and therefore we also didn't know that these things could cause cancer. So in the coming decades, we did find that there was some linking to cancer, at least in animals. Europe reacted to that, but the FDA has essentially kept that GRAS list not completely untouched, but they haven't removed them.
In that not removing anything topic, the ones you just mentioned, BHA, BHT, maybe there's not enough scientific evidence to prove that they do cause cancer officially yet, but it's kind of sketchy. They seem to be in kind of that gray area territory. Why haven't those chemicals been eliminated from the GRAS chart, in your opinion?
It's a good question. What they essentially do, BHA and BHT, is they avoid food going soft, basically. Right. And it's used for cereal a lot because then your cereal flake is still crunchy. It's like a preservative for the crunchiness, for freshness, right, which of course helps supply chain cut costs, etc.
Sure.
This one broke my heart, to be very, very honest, because my favorite cereal in the entire world is Honey Bunches of Oats.
Oh, I love that
I've
cereal.
been having that thing for, 15, 20 years since I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So we import that from the US, so it's not manufactured locally. Like Doritos, for example, they make them in Guatemala. Our Oreos are made in Peru. The Oreos recipe is different. So we get a mix of that. But Honey Bunches, they only make it in the US, so we get the US version with BHT. And most cereals do have it. Fruit Loops has it. Captain Crunch has it. I don't know how they solve it in Europe. Maybe they don't have Honey Bunches at all.
Maybe. That seems to be kind of a trend here about like the snacks that do make it to Europe or the snacks that do make it to Latin America have some inserts and have some pulls, it seems like, just to keep things regulated across country lines. And, last thing I'll ask you today, I do want to know about how a company can get a product onto market these days without notifying the FDA. Because as you kind of say in the video, the FDA has become a bit of a reactive agency more than an active one.
If you want to get a product out there today, you can just choose out of the GRAS list, right? Just choose whatever ingredient you have from the GRAS list. That's fine. You don't have to go through any approvals. You can basically put that on the shelves. That's fine. If you say you come up with a new ingredient that you want to put in food, you have two choices now. There's some novel ingredient you're using, maybe some new kind of oil that's coming from another type of seed or whatever, and you want to put in your food, you want to put that on shelves. You have two paths. And this is almost absurd what the two paths are, but these are the two paths. Path A is you can get that ingredient approved by the FDA and maybe put on the GRAS list as well. That's a really, really long process. You have to submit evidence. You have to wait for the FDA to approve it. Could take years. And then the other path is you can just not do that.
Crazy.
Like literally just not do it. Just run your own research to confirm that the stuff that you're putting in there is safe. But that's your own research that's funded by you, the company, your own labs and your own experts. And if you have evidence from them that says it's safe, you can just put it on the shelf. Don't tell the FDA at all. Not require their approval.
Wow.
Which is somewhat crazy, right? So
yeah,
one good example is when CBD started getting popular, they just figured like, we'll run our research on our end. CBD is safe, according to these scientists that we hired. And okay, yeah, let's just sell these CBD products. And then the FDA later, weeks or months later, had to step in and say, hey, wait. Really? Like, is CBD really safe? These products were in the shelves for months.
Wow.
And that's essentially what happens now with most food products. This is called the GRAS loophole.
Also, you talk a lot more in this video about states like California and other states taking action to ban certain ingredients for the states instead of at the federal level. And also you talk about this specific time where Daily Harvest actually had a big controversy with one of their products that they had to pull off the shelf. So definitely everybody listening, if you want to hear those stories and hear an expanded version of this conversation, definitely check out the video on our YouTube channel. But thank you so much, Caya. Appreciate you being here and can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Jon.
All right, and that'll do it for us today. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get signed up at thehustle.co/email and throw The Hustle a follow on Instagram. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey everybody, I've been listening to this awesome podcast lately called Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's hosted by John Lee Dumas and it's available right now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life that you've always dreamed of. It offers lots of energy, value, consistency, and it's for anybody who wants to learn more about entrepreneurship. It's super fast-paced and packed with valuable stories about entrepreneurs, their aha moments, their failures, and everything to what's working for them today. Recently, he had on this guest, Ashley Stahl, who talked all about her job at the Pentagon and how she evolved into becoming a top 100 TEDx speaker. She talks about evolving your brand from the ground up, leaning into the skills that you already have to build your brand, and also creating virality. It's a great listen. You should check it out. And you can listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you get your podcasts.